You're listening to Cinema Rex. It's an Iranian film podcast, episode 55, Samuel Khachikian's Iztiram, Agitation, also known as Anxiety. Durud bar shoma dostan aziz. This is the Cinerex podcast where we discuss all things Iranian film, cinema, television, art, movies, acting, kidnapping, fake kidnapping,
ransoms, playing cards,
suitcases full of playing cards, film, Farsi, art restoration,
toy machine guns.
I'm Kaveh Mohebi.
And I am Farhan Moradi.
And on our right, we have a guest. Well, I'm really happy to have him on the show today because I have been a fan of the work that he's been doing for the last couple of years. I'm excited to dive into what he's doing. So let me just introduce Sina Dolati. He's an Iranian-Canadian artist and filmmaker and the founder of Rangarang, a Persian art and entertainment brand and archival institute. Sina's films and music videos have screened internationally, including at Reading and Leeds Music Festival, Director's Notes, Shiny Awards Festival, Berlin Commercial, and five Oscar qualifying festivals, such as the Atlanta Film Festival and the Nashville Film Festival. He has directed for the Juno Award-winning band, the Haluchi Nation, formerly A Tribe Called Red, collaborated with Warner Music Canada, and served as a voting member of the Academy of Canadian Cinema and Television, and I'm a huge fan of the work he does. So welcome to the show, Sina John.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. The my long-awaited debut on CRP.
Long-awaited, and also like a very happy marriage and merger of two, Iranian bodies of pop culture and art, and the fusion is long overdue. Can I just instantly, before we go into your personal life and all the wonderful things about what makes you you, I really, really want to talk about Rangarang because you know I'm a fan, and why don't you just start off at the top of like broad scope what it is you do at Rangarang?
Yeah, for sure, man. Rangarang, also known as Rangarang World, it more so started as an archival institute. A couple years ago, I started just being like very fascinated with the pre-revolution world of art and culture that we had in the Iranian art landscape and everything that was lost and kind of forgotten. And I started collecting stuff, and I wanted to see how I can create some sort of cultural project out of it in a modernized way that allows this art to be seen and heard by newer generations. It is something as for a new generation, but from a very almost like vintage, alternative like psychedelic kind of lens almost.
Nice, yeah.
But we're also doing stuff that's more contemporary and modern that will, launch very soon. But it's kind of a bridge between these two worlds of like a past that was lost and a lot of people don't know about, to what's happening in today's artistic landscape. And yeah, that's a big part of it.
Can I just quickly, just for the people who might be completely uninitiated in what art restoration entails, go like explain like you're talking to like a 6-year-old, because in many cases with me, you might be like, I tend to have that mentality for a lot of things, but like literally explain what it is that you do down to like the fundamental level of like, what do you do in the video world? What do you do in the film world? What do you do? Like explain it to someone who like might not know what even the importance and value of art restoration is and what it entails.
Yeah, totally. I'll first say that I'm definitely not like there's people that are doing it on a much more higher level of expertise. I'm not doing anything that's kind of like a museum quality. It's kind of a small team that's taken on this endeavor right now, and we're trying to do it as professionally to build hype around it for kind of younger kids that are getting into this. It's kind of interesting, right? Like when it comes to pre-revolution Iranian art and culture, It doesn't look great. It doesn't sound great. There's always a lot of noise and kind of roughness to it. But
especially with music too, like especially when you get... Yeah.
It's almost become a genre. This is what I always say. The whole Ghadimi sort of branding label, it's almost become a genre because it looks and sounds old, but that's not because the art was originally that way. It's just because it's not restored properly. They're not digitized properly for a lot of different reasons.
It's funny, even with like a lot of Renaissance art, like people who do restorations get a lot of flack because people think that they're supposed to look dull and muted and like crackly and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone will come in and like clean off all the like soot and dirt and oil and dust that's built up. And then you look at these old Renaissance paintings, like in the Sistine Chapel and stuff, and it's very vibrant and bright, and the restorers get a lot of flack because people think that it's supposed to look archaic and like degraded and all this stuff, but
Yeah,
people don't realize that back then, no, it like looked and sounded good.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big part of it. On some level, people that do this try to do it as like officially as possible to like get in touch with artist dates and everything, and that's what I'm trying to do as well, as much as possible, because there's always like a definitiveness to a certain original art piece.
One of the most important things an artist can possibly do is what you do, because I have often told people one of the reasons I want to do this podcast and one of the reasons I'm so invested in discovering Iranian cinema specifically is it's one of the few ways I can connect to a past that I don't have access to. As someone who can't safely travel to Iran, can't safely exist there, live there, grow up there, and my love for cinema, it's just a natural connection for me to understand the past and present of my culture through films. And we as Iranians have experienced such a traumatic severance to that past and history because of an Islamic revolution that not only took over, but then began censoring and began deliberately, actively cutting off its ties to the past to start anew. And there is an active onus on those individuals to make sure the past is forgotten by some of the worst meaning individuals in government. And if they have it their way, it will be forgotten. And that past, that more secular Iran, will be lost to time. And future generations will grow up not having known or understood or appreciated Iran pre-Islamic. Though with its own flaws, it should be preserved and it should be restored and it should be kept in the memory and the social milieu of Iranian individuals for future generations to come. So that's one of the reasons why I hold what you do in such high esteem, because without that, we do lose a sense of identity and culture, and it'll be forgotten to time. And I think that's one of the biggest tragedies that could come from being divorced politically from your country. So I really wanted to just shout out and say, like, hats off to the work you do. And anybody who does work in restoration, whether it's film, art, music, visual, photography, poetry, literature, like all of it is so, so important. And it's, I think, a very thankless job. Like, it's not something that goes into, it's like, I'm going to go into art restoration because I'm going to become a billionaire by the end of the year. It's like not, it's a lot of hours of grueling work, and you don't usually get the appreciation. So that's why I wanted to put, for many years now, I wanted to put your company and what you do on a pedestal. So yeah, that's what I want to say about that.
I appreciate it, and same goes out to you guys that you're also a part of this. You're talking about these films. You're giving a platform to artists to come and talk about it and spread the knowledge, and that's a big part of it too. And you guys as filmmakers, artists too. It's all a part of this chain to kind of continue the growth and sort of building upon what we had and restoring and building on it together. Yeah. But it's funny you say that because there's another fucking person that comes like, "Oh, that information is wrong."
Yeah,
they don't see all the work you've done. It's like, no, what did you say? This is a wrong, because there in a lot of cases there
you could put out like 95% things that are correct or 99% things that are correct, and like 1% you like miss something or you maybe get something wrong. Or in our case, we like pronounce something wrong and like we catch flack.
Honestly, no. I do a lot of research on everything to make sure information is very accurate. But because there honestly is no official database for a lot of this stuff, that's what happens. And I'm trying to do that with the Rangarang Foundation very soon. Like there's going to be a database sort of section to it. And again, I'm not the only one doing this. Shout out to every other group or person doing this. There's a lot of names in this game that are doing a lot of cool stuff.
Are all these other restoration accounts, are they helpful and friendly? Are you finding any hostility from any of them? Like, how's that been? Has it been like a generally like pretty welcoming community?
I think 80-90% is very welcoming, but there definitely has been some hostility as well for just, it doesn't make any sense. It's like people trying to like start beef with you over their archives.
Right,
like, fuck cares? Like,
right.
We're trying to do cultural work here.
The same thing, yeah. You want to challenge any of them to a cage match right now, live on the show?
No.
Yeah, there's no like Bloods versus Crips of Iranian art restoration.
Yeah,
It's not a cool rivalry to write
well,
rap
no,
songs
yeah,
about.
just wait. There's gonna be
But
like
the thing is, it
shootouts.
actually does exist
firebombing.
behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, it actually exists. It's a whole scene. But like, I try not to get like. This is
There's the
stupid.
whole
like,
lawsuit, right? Between what was it, Parse Video
I would
and
get
what was
into
it,
that.
Caltex?
There is some of that going on. I don't know the details. I don't want to.
Yeah, well, the details are public. Like, if people are interested, you can like look up and find the like court documents on it. But Caltex and Parse Video, they're like, when oftentimes we complain on the podcast about like the restoration quality of some of these really old movies, and a lot of them were like just filmed off like a VHS camcorder of like film projected version of a movie on a wall, like the Samad movies, a lot of that. And it's because a lot of the like old school like distribution companies that just kind of like did it Old West style would just get what they could, do like the worst restoration digitization, and then sell it. And so the two big ones from back in the day are suing each other, claiming that they're stealing each other's restorations, which is
You're talking about Caltex
pretty
and Parse
funny
Video?
to watch. Yeah.
Was this over movies or was it? Because I remember it was over music.
I don't remember if it was music or movies, but it was like over a massive chunk of the library. Because for those who don't know, and I think we've talked about it in earlier episodes, artwork made in Iran by Iranians who don't hold citizenship elsewhere and who release the work in Iran 30 days or more before it released anywhere else is not copyrightable in North America. So in the US, you had a lot of these companies that were like bringing what they could from Iran, digitizing things and selling them. And I guess now there's like a war between these two going on.
There is a way to exploit these copyright laws, and there is a way to actually make good cultural use of them, because some people are exploiting this, right? Like like a lot of people that have access to archives are just exploiting this for profit. And I guess technically it's legal, but if you're actually putting efforts into major restoration projects, you're reaching out the states, the families. That's the way to go about it. And so right now with Rangarang, I'm doing a poster series. We've selected 6 movies, and we've done reprints of the cinema posters for 6 movies. And for 5 out of the 6 movies that we were able to find some contact, and either like the actual filmmakers or the poster artists, we've made communications with them. 2 of them have actually reached back. And
that's sick. I didn't know that. I remember you telling me that you were thinking about it, because some of this stuff it's things that like from a legal perspective you don't have to do, but from like a moral and ethical perspective, you were saying that you wanted to.
Exactly. It's more from legally, they're not copyrightable, and in fact a project like this, like what I'm doing is like with the postcards, there's information about the films, there's cultural value, right? Like it's like you have to do this kind of thing for the art to exist in the world, otherwise it'll just disappear, right? Like I'm trying to build hype around them, like I'm launching this stuff as if they just released, like it's kind of like trying to build excitement around them, and that's how I'm trying to engage like newer generations.
Yeah,
I would never be able to do it.
I believe in you, Kaveh.
Thank you. Well, speaking of believing in things, I think one of the most fascinating things about what Sina does and the things that he's interested in is part of this restoration is bringing a lot of film Farsi to light. And film Farsi is something we haven't touched on too much, except for, I guess you could consider King of Hearts is a film Farsi film, right?
Yeah. Samad 2 is considered
Samad 2. But we haven't really talked much about what it is specifically in its cultural place in Iranian cinema. And one of the things I can tell about you, Sina, are you a self-proclaimed, would you say you're a hippie in disguise? Because you do have an affinity for the past and you do like the psychedelic. And I feel like one of the things that I really like about what you've taught me is specifically within the film Farsi world, to like a film Farsi, and such as today's film is one of the most classic examples of, is you have to be kind of into the kitsch. And you kind of have to be into the things that are like imperfect about Iranian cinema, right?
100%. And yeah, I'm very much, yeah, man. If I could live in the 60s, I would. It's just my dream.
Nice. So, self-proclaimed hippie who wanted to live in the 60s. For people who don't know, listeners who have never been to my house, I have 4 of your posters, and I specifically have them, having not seen any of them, but one of them is today's film, Anxiety or Agitation.
You have the rare collector's edition with the old Rangarang logo. That
Oh,
are
nice.
not
Yeah,
available
cool.
anywhere
The
else.
resale value is going to go
they're more
through the roof.
valuable now.
So I have Izdarab. I have, what's the Farsi title for Gotta Love All the Pretty Girls?
Oruna Hachi Khoshkede, which is
Yeah.
very, very hard to translate. But
Yeah. What's the driving naked Sunday afternoon or something? What was the other?
Berahne ta zohr ba surat.
Yeah. And what was the last one? The fourth one I have?
Probably Bandari.
Maybe. Okay, let's talk a little bit about film Farsi because, again, let's pretend we're talking to like maybe a non-Iranian who like
someone
is
who
into
doesn't
Iranian
know.
cinema, doesn't know.
If you had to describe what film Farsi is to them,
The American equivalent to this would be Russ Meyer's exploitation films, such as Faster Pussycat, Kill Kill, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. It's a lot of 50s and 60s film noir B movies. They would refer to them like black and white B movies that were the second film they'd play.
Yeah.
The original Fast and Furious is actually it's a B movie. It's like
I
very
didn't know
much
Fast
like
and the Furious was a remake.
It's nothing. It's just the title alone, but it's like it's part of that world of 50s kind of car chase and like it's sexy women and all that stuff.
Right.
There's also like Sudden Fear, Kansas City Confidential, Nightfall, the original Scarface, which is nothing to do with the Tony Montana story, but like these are all movies that like really in America specifically like really valued attractive women, extreme violence for its time, fast cars, fight scenes and chase scenes, and they were always lower quality. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sina, but one of the biggest criticisms against film Farsi was that it was a deliberate sort of imitation of the Hollywood Western style. Like it was Iranian directors who were kind of like, forget artistic merit, let's just make these stories. Like let's take some of these stories, kidnappers and fight scenes and car chase scenes and sexy women with like short shorts and stuff, and let's just like make these films cheaply, quickly, and like produce them on mass market, right? Is that not kind of the idea behind them?
I'd say so. They're very much kind of comparable to just the idea of maybe a blockbuster.
Yeah.
They're just these kind of like mass produced kind of almost like escapist cinema that very much imitated foreign cinema, like Hollywood at the time. A lot of B movies, just big action, music, like comedy, drama. Honestly, the criticisms that apply to it are, more or less valid.
Yeah, you can't deny.
There's one book that my uncle got me recently that was published in Iran. It was kind of like a directory of Iranian cinema pre-revolution. And there is a rating system in the book.
Like rating quality or rating like PG-13?
No, like the quality.
Okay.
Like it's ranked by like high value, worthless, and I'm not even kidding, most of the movies the person has ranked worthless. Like literally it says, you flip the page, worthless. That's kind of my problem with it. Just because they're like mass produced, not super deep movies,
right?
It doesn't mean that they're not of value. And it's kind of like you have to lose yourself in that suspension of like, okay, this was Iranian cinema at the time. A lot of people, when they think of pre-revolution Iran, it always pops up like once a week or once a month or whatever. Some video pops up on Instagram. I see, Iran pre-revolution. There's like women in bikinis on the beach and like the freedom, and that's it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, pre-revolution Iran, that was that. Oh, we've lost so much, blah blah. There's sadness, grief, regret, right? But the full picture is much bigger than that, and that's not the entire reality of what the society was. There was a lot of contrasting sort of beliefs, and there was a dichotomy in the society that eventually, in a way, did contribute to people's social standing leading up to the revolution, right? And a lot of the cultural representation that we see in what we now call film Farsi is not accurate to like the entire Iranian population at the time. And it's not like, it was this entirely westernized society and this was what people live like, right? Like when I hear my grandparents or a lot of people's grandparents talk about going to the movies in pre-revolution times, they'd be like, oh, this movie had like this really dirty, sexy scene. This woman was like wearing stuff like this. Oh, it was shameful. They don't remember it well. Like it's not like they don't necessarily think of it as a good thing.
Yeah.
Like it's a very, like when I had a pop-up show showing the first pop-up show that I had showcasing some of these posters, there were a lot of like older Iranians who would come and just give dirty looks, be like, oh, that's not right, that's not proper.
Yeah,
for us growing in the West, growing up with Hollywood B movies, like for me, I love like campy Hollywood cinema, B movies, like I don't know, like
schlock.
weird.
I'm a big fan of schlock movies, like schlock horror, that is specifically like cheaply made, and like even 50s, 60s sci-fi, like it came from Planet X or The Man with the X-ray eyes. Like Americans made a lot of sci-fi movies specifically because of the Cold War fear. You don't see that in Iranian history. Like they didn't make a lot of sci-fi movies. There's a lot of like crime stories.
You're so right. I wish that existed. I really wish that existed.
Yeah,
and
they never did genre
horror,
in that way.
Horror, not so much.
Not as much. I wish, but now you're seeing a bit more.
It was always the Lati Pahlevun guy was like always
yeah.
And that's why the movie we're going to talk about today is a really good example of something that was still very unique, regardless of all of this, regardless of this social dichotomy at the time. There is still value in these movies. They're still really cool. You can enjoy them as like campy Hollywood-esque Iranian cinema, and at the end of the day, they're just fun. They're just cool. They're enjoyable. They deserve to be restored. They deserve more attention. The filmmakers deserve attention. They were just a product of the society at the time. These movies and the artists don't deserve to just be like completely overshadowed by like Iranian new wave cinema, for example. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of people just put value into new wave cinema, and this stuff just kind of lost, and people don't really give a shit about. But I think that's not how it should be.
Well, let's talk about this specific movie, because I'm just like a mini spoiler from my mindset. I was really pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed this movie, and I want to talk to you like after the pod too, like specifically about this film.
Yeah, what did you think?
And we're going to talk about what I thought specifically, but let's get this out of the way.
Okay. So the movie that we're doing today is called Ezterab in Persian, which translates to anxiety. The problem is that this director has made two movies where the titles of both of those movies translates to anxiety, but in Persian it's two different words. So one of them is this one, Ezterab, and then the other one is a movie called Delhore, right? In all these Iranian texts, you see textbooks, academic sources of Iranian cinema when they're translated, and any articles, like Persian articles that are translated from Persian to English, both movies are translated with the title Anxiety. That being said, if you were to look up this movie, if you want to know more about this movie, if you want to like find a digital version there's a website called Just Watch, which we've referenced before, which you can use to figure out like what streaming platforms or online retailers you can buy a movie from. On Just Watch, you need to look for Agitation. On IMDb, if you want to look up reviews or cast or crew, it's called Agitation. And on Letterboxd, it's called Agitation. But the actual title in Farsi, Ezterab, if you were to translate it directly, translates as anxiety.
The big difference too is one was made in 1972, one was made in 1961. We're talking about the 1972 film, so in case there's any easy clarification. 1976, my apologies. So we're going to dive in with a plot summary of the film Ezterab. After spending 4 years in prison, Amir comes home eager to make up for lost time with his wife and now 5-year-old son. When he's approached by a strange woman to stage a fake kidnapping of her daughter to gain ransom money from a husband and father that they despise, Amir reluctantly agrees to take the case. But things take a deadly turn for the worse when all signs point to Amir being the target of extortion, blackmail, and greed. Yeah, as far as I can see, this has 0% Rotten Tomato score, 0% audience score. Because this film didn't permeate in terms of getting critical reviews. That
your buddy's slacking on this one, Kaveh.
Which who, Francisco?
Yeah, Francisco's slacking.
Yeah. So I ask you, Sina John, what did you think of Ezterab?
So I had the same reaction. I honestly was very pleasantly surprised when I saw it.
When did you see it for your first time?
It was almost probably 2 years ago when I was trying to pick 6 interesting movies to do this poster series on.
Yeah.
Is that how you found out about it? Just like going through the posters?
I don't exactly remember, but I was just doing a lot of research, looking into interesting directors. When I found out about Samuel Khachikian, and I read more about him, I was so fascinated. Like, I don't know how accurate this is, but a lot of sources say he was nicknamed Iran's Hitchcock.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
wild.
That goes against a lot of
That's
stuff I've read,
wild.
but I'll get into
He
it.
popularized murder mysteries and noir in Iranian cinema, which I think is really fucking cool.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. No. And this film is an amazing example of that. And the poster is really weird and interesting.
And deceptive too. Like I don't think
Really?
there's a woman with a negligee. There's no negligee woman holding the scissors.
There
in
is a scene in the film where Layla
Yeah, those cut,
Furuhat is
maybe?
holding this, like that exact, I don't know what that is, like that knife in that exact
Yeah, but
same
she's not
pose,
wearing that
but she's
outfit.
not wearing that. And that
Yeah,
was,
that outfit was
very representative of the
definitely made
cinema
sense.
at the time, where the poster is
Yeah.
entirely fooling you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like very much like clickbait before clickbait.
It's super clickbait. There is, like, when I first saw the poster, I thought it's gonna be like a horror movie with like monsters and werewolves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the poster straight up makes the main guy look like a werewolf. The whole time I was watching the movie, I was like, all right, when's he going to turn into a werewolf? Where's the werewolf? Where's the transformation? But it never happened.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, what?
Is this one of your favorite film Farsi then? Is that why you wanted it to like you was such a strong recommendation from you?
I'd say so because I actually genuinely think it is a good film.
It is. It absolutely is.
Yeah. It's like it actually has a plot that carries. There's character development. There is, it's still very much a B movie.
Yeah. It's a B movie in the exact same way that film noir crime detective stories in America were B movies in the 50s
Yeah,
and 60s.
yeah.
Like
David, do you typically like those American B movies and like camp films?
it depends. It's always because I feel like a lot of them are so wash, rinse, and repeat that it really depends on the director.
Right.
Like I have just recently, for my first time, watched The Big Sleep, which is the Robert Altman film starring Ross and Rachel's dad, Elliot Gould. It's so good. It's so good. It's the Philip Marlowe detective stories that they made a whole bunch of adaptations.
Humphrey Bogart?
Sorry, hold on. What am I thinking of then? Hold on.
It said The Big Sleep starring Humphrey Bogart as Philip Marlowe.
Wait, 1 second. The Long Goodbye. My apologies. The Long Goodbye,
The Long
not
Goodbye.
The Big Sleep. But that, okay, yes. Yeah, my mistake.
Kaveh, overall, what were your thoughts on the film?
I really liked it. The only the major nitpicks I have about this film and that detract me from enjoying it are stuff that is just the problem with film Farsi as a whole, like especially the stuff I'd read and the criticism it would get. I think it hits the beats of a story to a T. And a lot of these movies from this era too. I think we talked about this during the King of Hearts. It gets a little while to get going, and I feel those meandering beginning first act usually end up being like this runtime could have been an hour 20 instead of an hour 47.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like it could always use a little bit, but as I had read, that was a product of film Farsi. Was like it got criticized for its pacing. A lot of people said the films were overly bloated and they were like cheaply made. So that's kind of like part of the kitchen charm of these movies is that they kind of really take their time. They're not like efficient stories necessarily. They're more like if we can find a reason to have a long fight scene early on in a flashback, we'll take the time to show that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I largely agree with a lot of the criticism, especially for this one. It's funny because I didn't feel it as much with King of the Hearts or even with Samad, like the bloatness of it.
Oh my God, I feel it all the time with those.
Well, because with those ones, like there was enough other stuff that was like keeping me engaged. Like with Samad, the humor was enough to keep me engaged over the bloat. Do you know what I mean? Or with King of the Hearts, the heart and the cuteness and the music was enough to keep me engaged between like how bloated the story was. I feel overall I probably would have liked this movie a lot more if it was like a half hour shorter. Like I think there's just so much stuff going on here that could have been trimmed out that was just not necessary. The dialogue almost plays like a soap opera where like they're written in a way where you can turn on a soap opera at any scene at any episode and the dialogue will catch you up on what you missed, right? It'll be like, oh, you're my twin brother. And last week...
Yeah, but you said that same thing about King of Hearts. You literally said that same thing.
I did, but King of Hearts, I could get past a lot of the bloat because there was enough music that carried my interest through. You know what I mean?
Do you also think it might be nostalgia though, because you had grown up on those films?
It's
like
possible.
Specifically with the Samad. I remember being like, "Oh my god, the first act of Samad is atrociously bad pacing." You're like, "I don't know, I found it kind of charming." I'm like, "Well, maybe because you grew up watching it."
It's totally possible. But I genuinely think pacing wise, like, because there was no music, because there was no comedy, I think it was harder for me to stay engaged. And I was like listening to every line of dialogue when they were talking about all this exposition, thinking that everything would be super important, like all the backstory would constantly be important. 2/3 of the way into the movie, I realized that like tons of the backstory that had been set up earlier on in the movie didn't matter. It was just backstory.
Right. What were you gonna say, Sina?
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel completely the opposite. Actually,
You want more? You want this to be a 3-hour epic?
No, not about that. In almost every film Farsi I've seen, I like the first act the most.
Interesting.
That's the part of the movie where they set up the scenery, the environments. You see the city more. It's just it's a little more fun. It's a little more. You actually see more of like an Iranian household in that era. You experience that kind of stuff because when they actually get into the plot and the thick of it, in a lot of ways they fall short. Even in this movie, like once the mystery kind of dissolves, it's not so much the story that's like. At least for me, it doesn't feel like I'm really watching for the story in most cases.
Right.
It's all the other sort of fun nitbits that kind of.
I do love those little bits. Like he has this very early. He has that very like he has in the fist fight with his like office coworker.
That's my favorite scene in the movie.
He does that superhero slow motion punch where it's
I
like
love it.
and like the fist comes against the guy.
Yeah.
I love those little things.
I love also how like throughout the whole movie, everyone's like trying to like piss this guy off and get him to like go like Hulk mode, and he's like holding himself back. And then at the very end of the movie, when he finally unleashes, you're like, "Yo, here comes the legendary punch!" And he punches the bad guy, and he goes flying, and he lands in the river. I'm like, "Yo, there's the punch!"
Yeah. I think also one of the things that made me feel like, oh, this is so film Farsi. It has these like deeply exaggerated moments, the fights, but even the dubbing. It's like one thing that maybe you find this to the charm and you could get into it.
I love it. Yeah.
And maybe I'd find it more charming on a second viewing now that I know the whole story. Because sometimes you just need, like the first time you watch a movie, you need to like watch it, and the second time you can really just sit and enjoy the ride, right?
Yeah.
But that little kid is clearly dubbed by like I think a 17, 18, 20-year-old woman. Like it's just like not a child speaking those parts. And
There's
like,
so many of these old Iranian movies that do that. Like that's like a staple in film Farsi where like the dubbing of the kids is almost always like an adult woman. Pretending to be a child.
And but there's so many scenes of this dad like catching up with the kid and playing with the kid and like the thing with the toy gun and stuff. And I was just like, okay, but like where like I just want to know where the story is going. And when I had that istirab about it, watching the film, I was now on a second viewing, I know where the story's going. I could probably ease into like enjoying the slice of life family. A little bit more.
A fun fact for you guys: the kid is actually played by Samuel's son.
Oh, cool!
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay, great.
Edwin Khachikian.
It's cool to see how Layla Furuhar is getting a little older now. Like watching these movies, like between King of the Hearts and this.
Yeah. What was the year difference? What was the gap?
I think like I want to say like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but she's a little girl in that. I guess how old? Like
9 years.
Right. Okay.
Because she's like, you can tell it's the same person, and her voice even just sounds a little more mature. But you're like, oh, this is the same person who's like grown up now.
Yeah.
I love her character in this. And to touch on film noir tropes, there's always the femme fatale.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Layla Furuhar's character really plays that really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that's really great too is this film, like I think you could get pretty uninitiated Iranian, like non-Iranians to get into the plot if they had the subtitles or whatever, because it's a radically modern plot and setup. Like for this film, you think you're watching this black and white film from Iran from the 70s, and it's like I'm gonna spoil like one of my double features, but it's Fargo. Like it's the same story as Fargo. It's The Big Lebowski. It's a lot of these like I need you to stage a kidnapping so I can get ransom money.
Yeah, with like double crossing and triple crossing.
Yeah, double crossing, suitcase full of money. Like those are all like modern tropes still used today.
But I do think that a lot of the double crossing stuff like has massive plot holes in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
The woman that he's supposed to kidnap, right? When he gets the money, he goes back in the room and she's been killed, right?
Spoilers, yes.
I mean, this movie's like 50 years old.
Yeah.
He goes back in the room, and the woman that he's kidnapped for the fake ransom money has been killed, right? And he's like, "Oh shit, I don't know who did this," and so he hides the body of the woman in his trunk, right?
Yeah, that did not make any sense. Yeah.
Okay, so
there is a lot of plot holes. There's plot holes.
Then the mom of the woman is like, "Oh yeah, like we set you up, blah blah blah, all this stuff." Is it the stepmom or is it her real mom? Who is that?
I think it's the stepmom.
Is it like a stepmom?
No, it's his.
Well, because then it's like,
yeah, I think it's the
right, and then the other person who's in cahoots with the stepmom
is her cousin
or her nephew or whatever, right?
Yeah.
The man who's
Which
she's
drove
supposed
to
to
the
get married to,
woman.
right?
Yeah. But so for me, it's like, why did each of the murdered double crosses happen when they were gonna split the money anyway, and then all these other people got killed?
No, because because you get more money.
I guess so, but then it's like, did the mom know that the daughter was being killed?
Yeah, I think she planned that.
I will say this though. There in a lot of film noir, there's a lot of these overly complicated sort of
100%.
So to me, when I didn't really question it when I was watching it because it was so visibly playing on those tropes. So I enjoyed it. It's like, okay, no, it's just like it's just trying to be a film noir. That's what it is. Like, it's just fun.
Yeah. Whether you enjoyed it or not, we can, like, I didn't miss anything, right? Like, these are plot holes.
Yeah,
right?
There's a plot hole.
Okay.
One thing I had to keep going back to was, did it show him putting her in the trunk? Or is that cut out from this?
It's implied.
It's implied, but you see him run off. Like, I think that was an important, because later on I was like, oh, he's acting like, when the cop pulls him over and the cop is like, oh, don't worry, like, well, you should be careful, you got a flat tire.
Yeah.
That scene is like a lot more heightened if you know the woman's in the car, but I wasn't sure. And I was like, I had to rewind and I'm like, no, they don't show her putting him in the car.
Yeah.
Him putting her in the car.
Yeah.
And then his wife finds her in the trunk, and I was like, "Oh, that's what I assumed," because it was kind of implied. But
yeah, and even
they didn't
then,
show it.
you don't.
And I didn't know if that was cut.
Even when she looks in the trunk, you don't see it in the car.
You just see her reaction.
She goes back inside, and then she tells him that there's a body in the car.
Yeah, but her reaction you can imply. I think.
Yeah. But even like the flat tire, like that also, like, you don't see the cousin go and pop the tire. Like, that's also implied. The kidnapping of the one child. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there were more scenes that were cut out to try to get the runtime down.
There could be additional parts that are just lost and not in the...
Lost.
That's
or maybe
possible.
Censorship too. Like, that was a big...
Yeah, it's very, very possible. Like, you can see visible cuts of just the film jumping around. So there could be additional bits that are not in there. Sometimes feel like because of the low fidelity of the video and audio of what we have access to, like sometimes it just misses certain parts just purely because of that. So I don't know. Do you guys also feel out sometimes?
Yeah. I did go back and rewatch a bunch of the scenes in that section of the movie multiple times because I was worried that I missed something because it was like things were missing or plot holes or whatever. But straight up, I think like either it's been lost to time or they were like intentionally cut out.
Yeah, it still, I think, does a really good job. Like this suitcase swap, and then when the reveal of how like they swap the money, he thinks he has a suitcase full of money. He puts the suitcase down for a split second to check on the body. The camera follows him to the body, and then he runs out of fear. But then he forgets the money and he comes back. And when he comes back, the suitcase is now on its side when it was standing upright before. So that's the little hint that somebody swapped it.
Right. Yeah.
But if you're not paying full attention, you're like, you don't notice that the suitcase is now flat on its side. Later, when he finally opens,
who took it again? The money?
It would be the uncle cousin, the final bad guy.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing that he still wants at the end is the microphone. Yeah, because you also don't see him with the money either. So it's like it's all a lot of like implication, like things are implied.
You didn't notice, Sina, that the suitcase was in a different position?
I did not. Even if I did, I would not have thought it's intentional.
Well, it shows that when he finally sees the cards in the suitcase, it shows a quick flash of him returning. Remember, it shows like that's the moment he left the suitcase, and it shows a quick flash of the two. But anyways, do you want to jump into behind the scenes and trivia? Because there's a lot I want to say about the film and a little bit more about Film Farsi, if you guys are cool with it.
Sure.
And we'll come back to the film. I'll cut this part out, but we're gonna come back to the film to talk about like deeper analysis and best scene and favorite lines and favorite performances and all that stuff. We'll come back to that stuff.
Yep.
But so you tell me what you know, Sina, fill in the gaps. But Samuel Khachikian, right?
Yeah.
Considered one of the filmmakers who spearheaded the detective thriller genre. And his action movies are pretty much like, is he like a godfather of film Farsi in a lot of ways? Or forefather, at least.
I think in a way, it was just kind of maybe more of a cult following from what I understand. Because it was a very specific genre, right? A lot of film Farsis that are remembered today, they're not film noir. So my perception is that his type of movies at the time wasn't like hugely popular either. That's my perception, I would say. Yeah.
Well, he had like his more famous movies, or like amongst them are like films like Midnight Cry, Faryade Nimashab from 1961, One Step to Death, Yek Kadam Tomag, and that's also 1961. And I think they were actually pretty successful for the time. Like they did better than a lot of those specific movies, did better than historical and musical movies of its time. And it's also interesting that
and what are you saying that based on? Like the success level?
The box office numbers of the 60s.
Oh, okay. Where are you
specifically
finding that?
In Hamid Nafisi's History of Iranian Cinema, which I quote often. And it's also, I'll get into it, but like it's a 4-volume book.
I need that.
And it specifically
I think the 5th
mentions
volume just came out too.
A lot of film. Oh, I need that. A lot of film Farsi fans were villagers. Like those guys would flock towards watching their movies more than city people, and that was a big divide culturally, which I'll get into details. But interesting too is Khachikian was Armenian Iranian.
Yep.
So like,
yep.
and like it's just an interesting thing because
that makes sense. His name.
When there was. Okay, so like basically, I'll get to this part. I want to know your thoughts. These like film Farsis especially were like really, really pivotal between 1948 and 1978. That's kind of, they began in the very late 40s. And the term film Farsi was coined by film educator and film critic Amir Hushang Kavusi. And he hated them. He said they all inherited from Iranian culture. He said that all they had inherited from Iranian culture was the Persian language. Otherwise, these films were formless, structureless, and storyless.
Mm-hmm.
And another critic, whose name I could not find but was mentioned in the book, had said that they are a mixture of melodrama and popular tales in which the clash of good and evil are based chiefly on class contrast between rich and poor, a contrast of values between chivalry and lack thereof, and social contrast between city and village. As commercial cinema surged in the 60s and 70s, there were new designations given. They were called stew pot films or meat and potato films. Do you know about this, Sina? They were called in Farsi film ab gushti.
Dude, I have something to show you another time. There was some sort of award show thing I saw in a magazine. What is it called? They had an award called Ab Gusht Talai, the golden Ab Gusht.
Oh, that's great.
And
that's
they awarded like the shittiest movies in the most.
Oh wow, this is like the Razzies.
It was a real thing. I don't know if this was like a real art ceremony or it was just a magazine thing, but it was hilarious when I saw it. And I completely follow what you're saying. Like to me, the term film Farsi was always had like almost like a derogatory overtone to it, and I think that's where it came from. It's almost like it's not intended to be like a creative description of what the genre was,
right?
So I personally, I don't really like to even use that term when I describe this type of cinema.
What, film Farsi or Ab Gushi?
Film Ab Gushi, I like that.
Not Ab Gushi, but like film Farsi too. Yeah,
I don't like it's just Ab Gushi has like a nostalgic vibe.
Yeah, and also it's got like because they also called it like underwear elastic, like drawstring films. Essentially, they called it film banditomani. Film banditomani.
No, I get it at the time. Like even now, there is like we call a lot of Hollywood like popcorn movies or whatever. It's not adding a lot, but in some time in 50 years, people are gonna look back and like even like Fast and Furious movies they're gonna be a part of cinematic history, right?
Yeah, I know. I think you don't need to justify it. I'm totally. I think people right now to this day,
when
recognize the importance.
Yeah, when we look back at these films right now, I think we can give them more value. That's what I'm saying.
110%.
Yeah.
No, there is value in, even if you want to call this film kitsch, there's still value in that. I think this was also coming from a highbrow intelligentsia that was kind of snubbing their nose at this stuff.
Yeah.
Because they were like, this is beneath us.
Well,
this
especially
because
this is at a time when the Iranian New Wave was underway, right?
Yeah.
Can I add one thing here? I wish I said this in the beginning, but when it comes to a lot of these discussions, when it comes to Iranian media, there definitely is a little bit of like a snobbish attitude I sense from like critics and historians or whatever. But it's just like whatever. Like we were allowed to have these conversations. Like I'm not an expert on this topic by any means, right? I'm just like an individual who's very interested in this, exploring things from my own perspective. And I'm allowed to have these opinions as an Iranian artist during modern times. Like this is my perspective. This is how I see things. And maybe like something might come out that's may not be entirely factually accurate, and that's okay. Like we're just exploring these topics, right? Like, and we should encourage this.
If Sina gets anything wrong, feel free to message him on Instagram. His handle is Sina Dolati _. Remember to put the @ symbol at the beginning.
Don't put this in the podcast.
One of the things, also going back to the film Farsi, one of the real sticking points was it really criticized for adopting heavily Western features, and due to this, a lot of leftists, even like non like religious people, they wanted to adopt Western art, but they thought that film Farsi's like style was too film Farsi style was too much naivety. Like it was too like naive and like silly, and they're like naivete. They were like, this is kitsch, and if we want to adopt Western art, we should do it right. Like these movies are too like below us. And then the religious right was worried that the Western worldviews would contaminate Iranian people. So it was ironically disliked by both sides of the coin for different reasons. And so despite all this, film Farsi was overwhelmingly popular by common citizens. Okay, and this is what I got from the book. A critic, Parviz Davai, had argued that this is now a clear and certain truth that the best-selling movies are all film Farsi movies, a phenomenon that has been analyzed less than 1/100th of the amount that it has been insulted. No one has conducted a serious study of the sociological, psychological, historical, and economic roots of why a film like Quran's Treasure generates 2.5 million tomans at the box office, and that from the pockets of the people of lower classes who earn their living by selling seeds, shining shoes, and guarding cars. Everyone calls the film Farsi movies bad, wrong, nonsense, deviant, and ridiculous, but none asks himself or herself about the connections, the rapport, and intimacy that exists between our people and this nonsensical and inappropriate cinema. Which is, at the same time, like, this critic is like shitting on film Farsi, but also saying like, we're not noticing that this is connecting with a lot of people.
Yeah.
This idea that it was like the films are a lot about like, and Samad films, like you said, Farn, in our previous podcast, it's like rural bumpkins versus highbrow city people. And it's like villagers would watch this movie and be like, hell yeah, stick it to those city people.
Yeah.
They were like going in droves to watch a lot of film Farsi because they saw themselves for the first time in movies. It commonly made the villagers heroes, and the villains were the big city folks who had corrupted a lot of small town villagers.
Yeah.
And the films were principally used, they principally used stories and themes and characters borrowed from updated versions of oral Persian literature. So they'd inject them with contemporary elements. So people would be like, oh, I know this thing. This is like taking one of the stories from Shahnameh, but it's like making it a more common crime story or something. And those were the oral Persian literature, not the stuff that people would read, but the ones that villagers would share to each other orally. They would recognize those stories and those adaptations on film. And, so for those reasons, they were very successful amongst a certain group. But again, like we hear it from like the intellectuals of the time and like the people who would like praise Kiarostami or Kimiai or all this stuff. And they'd be like, no, those films are garbage. Don't watch them.
And which
is not fair.
There is a spectrum as well. Like there are some films in the mix that are honestly are just absolutely terrible. Like so obscenely like sexist or whatever, and just insane. And honestly, what we're looking at today as Terab, I think, is probably one of the strongest films in the mix. It's kind of like it tries to be a critically successful film, but it is still very action and drama oriented, and I think it's kind of higher on that spectrum.
That's funny because out of the film Farsis that I've seen, this ranks on the lower side of the spectrum.
You think so?
I prefer the film Farsis that lean heavier into comedy or into music. So like if Gugush is in it, if Daryush is in it, usually you're gonna get like a banger of a soundtrack, and it's like after every main story beat, you basically get a music video in the movie, which like helps to break up the pacing a little bit for me, so I'm like a little more into it. Or in the case of like Samad, you have jokes that are carrying you through your attention through from scene to scene.
Yeah. No, the musicals are also some of my favorites. The other one, that one.
Is that a musical?
Yeah, it has some of RF's best music. My favorite music from RF.
Ham Safar is a really good one.
Ham Safar is incredible. Yeah, no, those are also on the higher end. But honestly,
there's one or two that Daryush and Gugush acted in together.
I mean, just the fact of those two being in the same scene is just looking at it is insane. It's legendary, you know?
Yeah.
Like you enjoy it, whatever, the plot can be whatever. It's just amazing. Yeah. But also, like, I was going to say, like, you guys seen, like, Reza Motori, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We haven't watched it
yet. That's one of the most popular ones, though,
It's very popular, and, like...
Vusuri.
Yeah, what do you think about the plot in that film?
I don't remember. I saw it so long ago. I have to be refreshed by it.
It's not... No, I mean, I don't... But just objectively, I'm not going to say with any disrespect. Like, it's not... It's a very, like, predictable, sort of overly dramatic plot in a lot of ways. Like, it's not... The story is weak. It's a weak story. It's really...
Yeah. But
I'm gonna say how I really feel. Don't put it in the podcast. It's fucking, the story is fucking terrible. Don't put this in the podcast.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna get haters, but it's a fucking terrible story.
Wow.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
We'll start with you saying
you're more than happy with us to talk shit about things we don't like, but with you don't want to publicly
not to this extreme. Not to this extreme. Okay. I just want to tell you guys. Please don't.
Okay, we won't put it.
Okay.
I want to say one more behind the scenes trivia, and then I'm going to go to critical reactions, which is a little bit of the same shit. But feel free to like jump in if you have any BTS behind the scenes of this specific movie. But let me say this last thing first. By the late 70s, the film industry in Iran had started decreasing in profits. And the reasons that film historians mostly saw was twofold. There was a lot of recent import laws which made it more lucrative to import movies than to produce them domestically. So there was like an influx in the 70s of like producers actually buying the rights for film importation. And this compounded with heavy and arbitrary censorship on the already existing films, which made it so that the appetite for foreign films were becoming increasingly in demand. That's why you saw an increase in like Hong Kong kung fu movies and action movies, and a lot of sexual comedies and spaghetti westerns from Italy had become really popular. And the reason I mention this more appetite for foreign films is the crisis had alarmed some cultural government members and professional film unions, and they ended up writing a letter to the Ministry of Culture of Arts in Iran in May of 1977, specifically using two films as case studies, saying Khachikian's Agitation, Anxiety, and Hassan Mohammadzade's Middlemen, Vasateha, to highlight that they're like, if these films are not doing well enough anymore, we are doomed as a culture. Because these were supposed to be in the 60s moneymakers. And this film was still very popular, but it didn't make the money it was expecting to make. And they were like, this is the canary in the coal mine for our film industry.
Right.
Like, we are losing a sense of our culture. If specifically this film we're talking about today doesn't do as well as we think it is, we're in trouble because Iranians are only going to watch Bruce Lee films or they're only going to watch Clint Eastwood films.
But we are fucked. Where was the new wave cinema in this whole thing in the late 70s?
Well, it was dominating, but it was more festival films that were grabbing the interest of like art house intelligentsia.
Yeah,
the
festival movies weren't like commercial blockbusters. The odd one was But sorry, what did I
Yeah,
say?
the odd one was.
No, sorry. The new wave films were not necessarily blockbusters or like selling out in theaters and stuff. The odd one was like Gavaz how
Sorry,
was.
hold on. Sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
they were selling well internationally. They were selling well in foreign markets.
Right.
So like it was creating an identity for Iranian intellectualism
Yeah.
in like Italy and Berlin and in France and even in the US. They'd be like, oh my God, look at these like artists and new wave filmmakers coming out of Iran doing incredible things. But that wasn't necessarily translating to box office money. It was these like Reza Motori and Film Farsi films that were like actually making profits for
Right,
producers at the time.
When you say these foreign markets, do you mean like festivals, or were they actually like?
I don't know.
were they
Festivals.
Okay, but they were not
Festivals, but you could go to Paris and see like a Kiarostami film in the 70s in the theaters if it did like well
commercially
enough.
like wide release.
Yeah,
I
like
generally like don't know too much about it.
Like in the same way that you can see it now, they might have. I mean,
Like a
even
limited
better than
run
now,
for like
there'd be a limited run if the film was like
like a
winning at
specific
Cannes.
theater.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the end of behind the scenes trivia. Unless you guys have anything from behind the scenes that you know specifically about this film.
I do not.
About
This film's hard to find stuff.
Yeah.
The IMDb trivia chapter is bare. There's
not
nothing
too
in that
much. No, not too much. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know much at all. There was
critical. Yeah, go ahead.
There's one thing
No, go
about Khachikian himself that I was gonna say earlier, but
Yeah, just go ahead. Now's the time.
I read somewhere that again I couldn't find multiple sources to confirm this, but
That's okay.
I read somewhere that he made a movie called A Girl from Shiraz, and for that movie he made the first trailer in Iranian cinema history. Like the first time there was like an actual proper trailer made for a movie was for that film.
Interesting.
That's cool.
So like it seemed like he kind of had this almost like a grander scheme for how these films are presented and the kind of aura around the films. And that's what led me to actually make that the trailer I made for the film. I was like, okay, that's cool. Like he did that. I'm gonna make a trailer for his movie.
That's cool.
That's really cool. And that goes back to probably him having very Western sensibilities of how to market it.
Exactly.
You know, like it's just like, oh, you got to make a small little ad for it. That's going to be like 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes long.
Yeah. I think that movie was 1954, Girl from Shiraz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Critical reactions. I have some things here about how people reacted. It's going to sound like it echoes a little bit more about what I already said, but in a funnier way. Should I dive in?
Yeah.
The film industry had commercial and artistic problems when blockbuster tough guy movies like hold on. I don't have the director's first name. Okay, like Khachikian's crime drama Panic, which was the other name for Del Hore, 1962.
Call every movie the same.
I know. Were much imitated. Critics were relentless about how low quality of popular films, saying it hurt the industry. Okay, hold on. Let me just film historian and filmmaker. Okay, there you go. So that guy who coined the term film Farsi specifically hated this filmmaker for those reasons. Like, again, Amir Hussain Kavusi. He called a spat of such recent movies both a stigma and a testimony to our country's failures and an abject humiliation. He was so disdainful of the imitative and improvised narratives of these commercial movies that he memorably called them authorless. And he said, quote, "If a ladder without any rungs could still be called a ladder, then a movie without a director can also be called a movie." Which I don't understand can a ladder without rungs be called a ladder? I don't know if that tracks.
When you think of it, if this movie, you keep it exactly the same. I mean exactly the same. But change it to an English dub. Could you really tell this was an Iranian movie made in Iran?
No,
not at all. There isn't a single Iranian reference that I can think of. So you know what? In some way, I get it. I get what what he's referring to. There is not there's no Iranian identity in any way. But like, so what? Like it's still what it is.
I think also, Carmen, I think you understood the guy's analogy backwards. I think he's saying that
directly from.
No, I know. I'm saying I think you understood it backwards because he's saying that this movie basically doesn't have a functioning director. Like that's the assertion that he's making. He's like, so if you can still call Agitation a movie,
yes,
then you could call two poles side by side a ladder. That's the point he's making.
That's exactly, you're right. Yeah. Good call. This is Foreign's correction corner.
Yeah. I specifically did that because Francisco is
No. I'm glad
he's gripping his steering wheel right now in Australia.
Yeah, he's twirling his mustache.
Yeah, he's
but the thing I was gonna say to what you're saying, Sina, too, is like me and Foreign once talked about the Life Goes On, the Kiarostami film, which specifically has Vivaldi in its score. Is it Vivaldi? It was Vivaldi, wasn't it?
I think so. I can't remember now, but yeah.
I might be wrong, but
it was like a Western. Yeah, it was a European composer.
It was composer, and critics were really harsh on that, being like, "How dare you not use Iranian music in your film that is about Iran and Iranian people?" Like people were like, "Don't use a European composer, even though it's classical music." They're like, "We don't like this that you did that," and so he caught a lot of slack for that. Iranian critics are really proud of their Iranian identity showing and representing on screen.
I mean, I didn't like that either. I had called it out before the critics did. I remember especially because in Where's the Friend's House, it's Iranian music, and I was really into it. So then going into that movie, I was like, man, I was so mad.
Right. I think maybe Foreign was the only critic I'm thinking.
Yeah, I was the critic.
Speaking of critics,
my general view on art is very holistic. I don't know if that's the right word, but
yeah. Free flowing, man.
No, it's art.
You are a hippie.
No, generally, like art is art. Like if you want to make a movie that's like whatever you want, you can use like whatever you want. You know, like
dude,
the music
I have
is
3
Western,
T-shirts
whatever.
with
yeah.
I have
3 T-shirts with David Lynch on it.
What did you say? You have 3 T-shirts with David Lynch?
I have 3 T-shirts with David Lynch on it. I totally agree with you, Sina. Like, if you want to put a flying frog in the middle of your scene, put a flying frog in the middle of your scene.
Is this where we smash cut to every time Sina has like talked shit about other people's movies, being like, "This movie
What do
sucks."
you mean?
It's like art is art, but these other movies suck.
I did it once.
Once for Tehranto. Will you let it go? All right. Last thing I'll say.
You're not putting that.
Another critic, Karim Imami, titled his review of the state of Iranian cinema and of Khachikian's Panic. He called it the disaster of Iranian cinema. In the past, he admitted Khachikian's crime movies had scored very well in the market and were imitated. Yet many of these were themselves copies of Western originals, resulting in dissonant texts in which Iranian and Western elements clashed. He explained, what is unpleasant about Khachikian's work is his lack of attention to reality and his evasion of realism. In his movies, the stories occur in Iran and his protagonists speak Persian. However, their Persian behavior and movements are more like Hollywood characters than Iranian ones. And the fight scenes that he inserts in his movies are totally like Hollywood westerns. Khachikian is under the spell of American movies to an amazing degree, and his chief problem is that he does not have an Iranian view of the world. As a result, the financial success of his movies cannot help the Iranian film industry at all. We cannot build the foundation and principle of a country's film industry on the basis of imitation. What we need now is a cinema that can stand on its own feet, an independent cinema.
That's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
He was legit pissed, man. He was just like, how dare you make this movie?
How dare you?
You know, that does bring up an interesting question, though. It's like, okay, like what he said about the view on realism, like film noir is very escapist. If you were to make a proper film noir with an Iranian identity, how would that actually look like? Or is the identity of film noir at its core just very westernized?
Yeah.
Question to you
that's what I mean. Is that a question to us,
or is that rhetorical?
No. It's actual. I'm genuinely wondering what you guys think.
I thought it was rhetorical.
I think escapism comes in many forms, and escapism does not mean you have to be within the boundaries of your own culture and identity and home to escape. No. I can escape from a movie that takes place in a galaxy far, far away, and there doesn't have to be anything Canadian about it or Iranian about it for me to escape.
I agree.
So I think the whole point of escapism is to break the boundaries of the constraints in which you live.
Any criticism I have in this movie have nothing to do with the genre of the movie.
Now, do you guys think...
I think the genre aspect of it is totally fine.
Yeah. Like I want to make a comparison to a recent film in Iranian cinema, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, because that is also a genre film. It's maybe in some ways noir, a noir-esque horror.
Oh, I'd say it's
right.
Noir. Yeah.
But it does have like very much an Iranian identity, right? And I feel like it's like in recent cinema, we found this really interesting balance of like a very extreme, like that movie is extremely westernized, right? A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, but it is also like movie. But it's also very much Iranian, right? Like it's interesting to see how
to
things
to that I'll say I'll say, do you like chocolate? Do you like caramel? Is it so bad if there's some caramel on your chocolate? Like, you can have a blending of those things.
Exactly.
That's what makes things like, it sometimes you get the sum of the parts.
But not mint. Keep mint out of chocolate. Mint has no place.
But what I'm saying is
has no place in chocolate.
Mint is good. I don't like caramel. But what I was saying is...
You like mint chocolate? Well, Sina, it was nice to have you on the show. Tune in next week.
That's very nice. But what I was saying is... what was I saying? At the time, there's almost like you don't really see a proper blend of Western elements with Iranian elements in the cinema at the time. Like I haven't really seen anything that was done properly that I've seen.
Not quite like the way Khachikian would. Like, he clearly was like the one who was adopting a lot of it, I think, based on these critical reviews of his work.
Yeah,
because this isn't the only one they were saying.
Do you remember if what's his name got flack for if Ghafari got flack for Night of the Hunchback?
His satires? No, I don't think so.
Because Night of the Hunchback was very much
his film is still considered part of the new wave.
It is, but it was very much influenced by like European films at the time.
Yeah,
because even the rest of the like if you look at the new wave movement, it like they veered more and more away from that style of movie. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to pose a question to you guys. You guys are both
Sina's
writer-directors.
question corner.
Yo, go.
Yeah. You guys are both writer-directors, so if you were to take Esther up and add a major Iranian element to it, if you were to potentially appease these critics, right? How would that look like to you? Like if Estarab was still very much a westernized noir film, but had a deep Iranian identity, whether it's in a certain plot element or anything else.
Let me think. I mean, by choice, I don't think I'd want to.
Yeah, I'm just hypothetically.
If
what would that actually look like?
Like, if I could change anything about the movie, it wouldn't be that. So now I'm like trying to figure out what.
Yeah,
okay, so like one thing.
I'm just curious.
Like, if I was doing it now or back then, that's the other question. Were you saying about now or back then?
It's the same movie. It's not a remake, right?
Okay,
so
but
it's back then,
You're a producer. Okay. You're giving notes on the script.
I would probably make it a commentary on some of the religious right who are manipulating people in Iran to get their own means, and I'd probably have a satirical comment about the roles that those people. I'd make the villains probably like a little bit more religious, and I'd incorporate some of the things that were happening.
Bro, the movie theater would be set on fire if you did that back then.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time.
They'd accuse you of being Savak.
It wouldn't be the last time.
So that's actually a really good point, because it's like, despite all the perceived freedoms of the time, it wasn't really that way, right? So it's almost like I feel like art at the time, it wasn't as free as it looks like, you know?
Oh, definitely not. Like we've talked about it on the podcast, where like if things were overly critical of the king, of the Shah, like it got censored. Like Savak straight up would come and apprehend the master and make the director recut the film or reshoot parts of the film or redub the film. Right. But then on the flip side of that, I feel like if Kaveh got his way with the film too, like the movie theater would be like trashed by a mob. Just from like stories that I've heard from some of these older actors that I've met, like older Iranian actors who are like, oh yeah, like I was coming up during the revolution, and they're like not Islamic, but they were more like maybe a little more leftist, or they wanted like a democracy. They just like didn't want the king. And they were like, yeah, I remember when like the night after, or the night of the Cinema Rex fire, it was like a total tipping point in the revolution, because it was like from that moment on, if your resistance to the Shah wasn't like completely pro-Islam and in some ways pro-communist, but even if it was pro-communist, it couldn't be secular communist. It had to be pro-Islam. It was like straight up, if your position was not pro-Islamic government, people were like, you're a spy, you're Savak, like we got to take you down, blah, blah, blah. It was like overnight, it like switched.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So would you then say the film Farsi at the time was a big product of almost like the freedoms at the time, and the reason why they played it so safe was that a lot of it was this, and it's just like, oh, these are
Probably,
Western formalized in an increasingly Westernized country, and we're just gonna try to make the same movies but in Farsi.
But not even just like completely Westernized, right? Because I think what these movies did was they were coming out at a time where things were so polarized, right? Where on the one hand, you had people who were like, everything has to be Iranian, everything has to be Islamic, everything has to be super far leftist, all this stuff on the one side. And then the other side, everybody was like, no, it needs to be more Western, it needs to be more for like the king and classical and blah, 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 and all this stuff. So Film Farsi has to position itself in a way where it can appeal to both camps. And so as a result, the general audience from all camps really enjoys the film, but the like hardliners in both camps hate the film, you know what I mean? Or hate the genre. I don't know what I would change, to be completely honest. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like
if I
when
was
you
to
watch,
try to make it more Iranian, I don't know.
yeah.
I
Like when you watch a
genuinely
lot of
don't
these
know what I would
movies,
change.
when you watch a lot of these movies, it's like they don't tell you anything about Iranian society at
There's
the time.
there's like
nothing. I think that's a defining character of film Farsi, quote unquote.
But there was enough films that would tell you. So like
Samad did to an extent.
Yeah. If you put them all together, sure. But like generally speaking, it's not a defining feature of these films, right?
Yeah.
That's not what they're
sure.
set out to do as a purpose.
Yeah, you'd get the odd one, and if it did, it was more general. Like Hamsafar is an example, but Hamsafar was more commentary on like classism.
Speaking of commentary on classism, should I move on to deeper analysis?
Yeah, let's do it.
That wasn't deep enough.
That's still our introduction to what film we're doing.
Okay.
I mean, I guess being with the actual subject of the film and content of the film, like what was the bigger? One could argue Film Farsi doesn't have deeper analysis. It's there to entertain, and the films are just kind of like what you see is what you get. But to humor us, as a Kava's question corner, one of them, for example, I would say is like, is it a story just about moral ambiguity in a corrupt world? Like this specific story, agitation, anxiety is stood up. Is it crime doesn't pay, or in crime there's no such thing as a simple plan? Those are the kind of things I drew thematically from this story. Did you guys have anything? Well, what this
pretty much. I mean, yeah, our
solid.
protagonist is this guy who's just very. It's interesting. He's kind of an anti-hero, right? He's not really. It's kind of he's perceived as a criminal by a lot of people around him, but he's also our hero, and he doesn't believe that he is what people kind of put it onto what he is, and there definitely is moral ambiguity.
And all he really wants to do is spend time with his kid. Yeah. It seems like he's like, I just want to be a dad now.
Yeah, well, he is.
Then outside forces.
He is very.
He's a terrible dad, though. Like it's like,
I mean,
it's funny because it was like he's like on his train and on the train home, and he's like, "Oh, I miss my kid." Blah blah, blah all this stuff. And then every scene he has with the kid, he's like, "Shut your mouth, go away, stop playing with that gun." Blah blah blah. He like smashes the kid's toy gun.
Yeah. Well, he's stressed out. He's got PTSD from all the things.
He has agitation as usual.
He's just so like he gets worked up so easily. He just starts screaming all of a sudden, and then he's like,
such a short fuse.
Yeah, and then
yeah. Deeper analysis for you, Farn? Anything?
Yeah, just as shallow as it is, there's like commentary there for how society treats former inmates and former convicts who are trying to be like rehabilitated into society. Because the reason that he ends up falling back into this like scheme is because he has a hard time with like finding work, or you don't see him have a hard time, but it's like the woman is like, "Oh, I know you're it's going to be hard for you to get work." Blah 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 blah.
Actually, when she says that, she says, "Tween shadow yet at times like this," which is ambiguous. Like, what is she referring to? Like a certain state of the economy? What exactly is she referring to? It's kind of uncertain.
Right. Or you're saying,
so I don't know, actually.
But she does explicitly say because he's a former convict.
What she says in Tween shadow yet, which is kind of almost like in this economy.
Society, in this time, in this economy. Yeah. 100%. But again, her main thing there, like what her main thing, she specifies that it's not anybody in this economy. She's saying a former convict.
She's like, it's especially hard for a former convict, kind of.
Yeah.
She's a very supportive wife, by the way. She seemed to really be trying pull her weight to be there.
We're talking about the woman who offers him the job.
Yeah, who hires.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry, you're right. She's the one who says that.
Who's played by Iren, who's also another Iranian actress of Armenian descent, also very prominent.
She was in another movie that we did.
Really?
I can't remember. Was it? It might have been King of the Hearts. I don't remember now. But she was definitely in another one too.
Yeah, she was a pretty prominent star.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to best scene. What was your favorite scene in the film?
I
think we have the same ones.
I touched on this, but the flashback where he's
interesting.
That and the final confrontation is pretty well done. It's entertaining. Right, I would say those. There is one specific shot that I'm confused what significance it has. Generally, when I put this in the trailer, where the guy Amir and the detective brother-in-law, is it brother-in-law?
Yeah, it's his wife's brother.
Siamak. They kiss on the lip.
Oh yeah, I was like,
and the song and the music goes like,
and it's a smash cut.
So it's meant to raise significance. It's not just something that happened. What was that?
I don't know. Tell us.
I thought it was just really interesting, and I put it in the trailer.
I was hoping if there was one thing you were going to tell us today, it would be the meaning of that kiss.
Yeah. What's the deeper analysis? You tell us.
I don't know. Maybe it was just like done for fun. I don't know if there's a deeper analysis there. It's just like maybe like I want to think it's like Khachikian's way of like playing with masculinity of these two super masculine characters just clashing in that way.
He doesn't even. But at the same time, it's kiss his wife on the lips in the movie. No, he kisses his wife on the cheeks.
Yeah, and the kid is like the kid is talking about like, oh, aren't you happy to see Uncle? Blah blah blah, all this stuff, and then he's like, what about Mom? Are you gonna kiss Mom? Why aren't you kissing Mom? And then instead of kissing the mom, he goes over and he kisses the uncle, and I was like, what the hell?
On the lips, and like the music just like goes crashing when that happens.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, like that would be really like this would actually be like a significance to it if Khachikian was doing some sort of playing on masculinity and whatever. But then I don't know if that's actually what he was trying to do. If the film was trying to get that deep, I don't know.
Was he secretly gay?
I don't know.
My best scene is the discovery of the dead girl. Once he has this woman, I think that's such a crucial like midpoint of the film.
Oh yeah.
It's sort of like the stakes have been raised, and genuinely you're like, okay,
Yeah.
he's now in a, like, I'm with him in that scene, being like, who did this? Why'd they do this? You are so screwed now, and I really love that heightening of like dramatic tension.
Yeah, I
And
remember
was like, this is cool.
when that happened. I was like, oh, I don't know where this is going now. Like it was a
It's great.
genuine
That was my
subversion
favorite
of
scene.
expectations. Yeah.
Yeah.
One quick
yeah.
thing about the first scene, the one that Sina mentioned.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like most about that scene is like it's the first time that you see him with his like super punch, the one that like caves in the guy's head, and it like cuts back to him, and his like head is like totally caved in. It's also like kind of crazy that. Okay, so the
It's
thing
bloodied
that
up and
the thing that triggers the fight is he finds out that this coworker has been stealing from the company.
yeah.
And he just has such a short fuse that makes him attack this guy.
Well, he's been blamed for it. He's gonna go to jail for it, essentially. Right? Like he's like, that's what he's gonna get for.
I think he's worried that he'll go to jail for it. But what he ends up going to jail for is murdering his coworker.
I guess I thought it was a bit of both because he's only gone for 4 years.
Which is like crazy too, that he goes to
Well, I
jail
thought it was
4
like
years for
manslaughter in a fight. It's like manslaughter in a fight and going for embezzlement.
I don't think
4
I don't know, maybe you're right.
He was
My understanding was that he was worried that like it seemed like he was going to get the embezzlement charge, but then they figured out that it was that other guy's fault. But then he lost his cool and then he went to jail for manslaughter. That was how I understood it.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I don't exactly remember, but there was some sort of wrongful thing. Like it wasn't fully justified from what I remember. You know,
the camera work in that scene was really good too. Like I remember like as they're fighting in like one take, the fight is going from like one room into another room, and the camera is tracking along from outside the room, and you see through one doorway into the other one, and then it pushes in. Mm-hmm. It was actually pretty solid camera work. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. There were some really interesting angles. Like, that definitely like you could tell there is craftsmanship put into it for sure.
Yeah.
Damn, that's poetry. Where we talk about our favorite quote from the film.
Probably you want to go
first.
I'll
go first.
Okay, you go.
I have two. I think you might have one of them, but I don't think you'll have the other one. I don't know, maybe. But when he's talking to his son and they're on the roller coaster or they're on the ride, he says to him like, and I'll say it in English and we'll put the clip in. He goes, "Be happy, little one. I haven't felt life this beautiful before. Laugh, laugh, my dear. Shout. They kept my voice held down for an eternity, but you are free. Shout." That's one I like. I also like this as a little joke, is when the young girl who's planned to be kidnapped is now making her ruse and her excuse to go out for the night. And her like uncle is like, "Why are you going out this night?" And she's like, "I'm going out because I have a headache." And he's like, "Then why are you going out?" She's like, "I'm going out because I have a headache."
Yeah.
Just like that. He's like,
one.
"Why are you going out?" He's like, "Because I have a headache." It's funny.
Yeah, mine is a really stupid one. But I just love it. I love it. In the final confrontation where the cousin guy is holding the gun and he says, "There's no lover better than money."
Yeah.
It's just so like, it's so campy. It's just so fun. And the way he looks so like 60s Hollywood, like his outfit, the mustache, like everything about him is just so like fucking 60s Hollywood.
Yeah.
And he says that line. It's just so reminiscent of that.
He reminded me of Bethtosh in Motherland. Like his
He
look.
has that look.
He's got the mustache and the hair.
Yeah.
My main one is when he's arguing with the woman played by Iren, who's like looking to hire him when they're at the circus or the fair. And as she's trying to like convince him to take the job, he like loses his shit again because he's got a short fuse, right? And he turns around and he's like, "Don't weave philosophies for me, woman." Like, tell it to me straight. I was like, it was funny. And then special shout out. He like often throws the word dadak in there whenever he's like, whenever he gets pissed off at people. like the kid, he like finally has it with the kid being like, oh, where's Big Uncle Black? Where's Big Uncle Black? Whatever. And he keeps like trying to indulge and like give him cutesy answers and whatever. But then the one time the kid just asks too much, he's like, where'd Big Uncle Black go? And then he goes, Bedarak. He's like, what the hell? And the mom's like, hey, what the hell?
Yeah.
Don't be so mean.
Yeah.
Favorite performance?
I would say maybe Abdullah Boutimar, who played Siamak, the detective.
Yo, me too.
I think he pulled off that detective role so perfect. Like,
Yeah.
and he honestly has that Hollywood look. I think he was, I think just purely from a performance perspective, like, he just nails it. Like, he's just so nonchalant and cool. And yeah.
100% agree.
And honestly, shout out to Leila Fouad. Like, she pulls off that like bratty sort of like femme fatale role just beautifully. Yeah.
For me, it was Behzad Jawanbakhsh.
Yeah, he was good.
I just thought he was genuinely solid for the camp performance that he gave. It matched the style of the film. And by the third act, when his son is genuinely missing, he gave a pretty compelling, panicked sort of performance, which I found believable. Festival of Cons. I don't have any particular Festival of Cons. I just think we've discussed a lot of it in quite detail. So I don't know if you guys have anything. If you do, feel free to jump in.
No, I think we've pretty much covered a lot of it, I would say.
I don't have any more specific things, but an overall note for me is I think the story would benefit from being a lot leaner and from taking out some of the more like unnecessary and convoluted like backstory. I don't mean the flashback because I really like the flashback. I mean like where they'll be having conversations and they're like summarizing details of their lives. And I'm like, we don't need that.
Yeah, I agree generally. But at the same time, I feel like to me, like those things could definitely be fleshed out more. I would say that. Yeah.
Double feature lineup.
I would honestly put it together with Qorbune Hash Khoshkele. I was thinking about this because that's also a different end of this spectrum of like a very fun, upbeat B movie sort of thing.
Yeah.
But Qorbune Hash Khoshkele is a musical and it's just very over the top and has big stars in it. It's a really, really fun movie. So I would pair these two together. I wouldn't put it with another dark movie.
Kaveh, what about you? Silence of the Lambs?
I would pair this up with Fargo because I think it's for all the reasons that I mentioned earlier that they're both film noir. It's a way into the film.
But would you actually do
it's
that? It's
crime noir.
Like, would you actually program those two together?
Bro, you can't talk shit about this movie. I gave my complaints and Sina immediately came in with the defense.
No.
Literally, they're both stories about fake kidnappings. It literally begins with William H. Macy hiring a guy to fake kidnap his wife.
That sounds cool, yeah.
And that's the inciting incident of Fargo, which is almost beat for beat how this story begins by the end of the first act.
Fair.
And I think it'd be your gateway drug. Get a bunch of fans who are essentially fans of Fargo who may have never seen film Farsi before to come for Fargo and stay for the anxiety of it all. I guess that's what I would do.
Solid.
Sounds a fun time.
I would probably do like a film Farsi night and I would pair it with Sultan Ghalpa, King of the Hearts. Because I think that, or maybe with Hamsafar, one or the other. Because then you can get one that's more of like the noir type of film Farsi, and then one that's more of like the musical and romance type. Or alternatively, the other one I was thinking of was Night of the Hunchback. They're different movements, but they're like kind of similar in a lot of ways in the sense that like one of them is all about the subversion of the noir genre, and then the other one is a subversion of like, I don't know what genre I would even call Night of the Hunchback, but like the story is constantly changing and there's like double crosses, triple crosses in this one, and then in the other one it's always like, okay, where's the body going next? And I think it might just be a fun night with two different movements.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Hollywood remake. Now, this is Farhan's least favorite category, and it's my favorite category for this reason particularly, because I think this movie is perfect for a Hollywood remake. And don't get scared yet, Sina. I think this would still be an Iranian film. This would be a big budget film, and you can still get an Iranian director on board. So I would give someone like an Ali Abbasi with a big Hollywood budget to redo this film.
Like very serious?
Yeah, kind of, but like a little bit gritty, but a little bit like play it like a Coen Brothers movie almost. Get like Nabi Mohammed Zadeh, who can do both like comedy and dark drama as like your lead. And I think it'd be kind of cool. Like you get like a Tarane Dustali or
Tarn Ali Dusti.
Ali Dusti. There you go. Tarane Ali Dusti. Get her in the lead. Like I think this would be cool as like a remake. So I say yes.
I was gonna say my original thought was a no, because it's already, like we said, it's very derivative of Hollywood noir of the time. And it's not like in terms of the story or conceptually, it's not a unique story that, oh, we're gonna take that concept and remake it. If you remake it, it could be almost like just any other noir movie. There isn't any specific sort of like character or setting or anything that would really be representative of this film, so might as well just kind of open yourself up to a completely new Iranian noir film. But what you're saying, Kav, is actually really interesting, because it could be this, it could be just like a completely new story, but in a really almost like B-movie campy way. It could be a reimagined version of this film with the same title. So in a way, it's paying homage to someone Khachikian. Like it'll actually like kind of bring awareness to this. So in that sense, I think that could actually be really interesting, but not for the sense of the story itself.
Right.
I would do it too, but I would actually go in a completely different direction. I would do it as a spoof. Like a spoof remake, almost like Black Dynamite. Have you seen Black Dynamite, Kaveh?
Yes, of course I have.
So kind of like what Black Dynamite does for Dolomite, I would do something like that for this movie, and I think it would be a lot of fun. Get Payam to play the lead. I'd be super into it. Payam's done like a bunch of Instagram reels where he's like spoofed film Farsis, and they're so funny.
Do you think that requires the audience to know the original material for it to work, or?
No, it doesn't have to be.
I would do Hollywood budget, but I would release it in Iran.
But like, if you do a spoof of a movie that nobody knows, do you think that could be successful?
Like Airplane was a spoof of a movie nobody knew.
Wasn't Airplane a spoof of a Canadian short story that nobody knew?
No, it's like a scene-for-scene remake of Airport 76.
Oh, right. Airport 76 is a adaptation of the Canadian short story.
Well, sure.
The novella. Yeah. I don't think your audience needs to have seen this exact movie, but I think as long as you're like tangentially familiar with the genre, I think you're fine.
Final thoughts and grades. Sina, why don't we start with you? What would you grade this film?
I'm like somewhere between 70, 75.
Interesting. That's lower than I thought you'd give it. What is that?
It's like a B minus B.
Yeah, B minus.
Like I wanted to keep it in the B category, like just conceptually, but I think that's where it is. Yeah, like 70 to 75. I think it's important to, despite everything, to recognize the care and craftsmanship of Khachikian, and the fact that I think he truly was trying to make good cinema. I think he edited the film himself. Like he had a big role in the music. Like he was like putting a lot of himself into this, and I think that's important. Like it wasn't just a commercial movie to make. Like he was trying to do something unique and interesting, and I think that's valuable. Yeah,
I give it a B, because even higher than Sina, I think the film really pleasantly surprised me. I didn't think it would resonate and feel as modern as it did. And to be honest, there wasn't a moment I was particularly bored or lost or confused. I think it carried me along as a film should, as an audience member. I was like, this is great. You captured your audience and you're taking them for spinning a yarn. So B, solid.
I would give it a B too, 75.
Nice, there you go.
You're bumping it up?
Yeah, I would bump it up. Yeah,
BBs.
2 Bs for the boys. I am giving this movie... Kaveh, you know exactly where I'm going with this. Just looking at my like what I've given the Samad.
Can I guess?
Yeah, guess.
C minus.
You're close.
C minus?
No, I'm giving the movie a D.
Ooh.
Oh, interesting. Oh.
It has nothing to do with the genre. I think just like, I honestly think that the movie, its biggest flaw is that it's just way too long. I think take the exact same movie and like cut it down to an hour or even like an hour 10. And I think I would have given it
those classic 1 hour length movies. You know how go classic.
Hey man, if that's what the story calls for, that's what the story calls for. But I don't think that there's enough in the story to justify its 90-minute runtime. And I would have been just as fine with 60 minutes. I think it would have been fine. 70 minutes, whatever. But yeah, I think looking back at my other Film Farsi reviews, the Samad movies, I gave them in the Bs. I gave King of the Hearts an A. It's just for me, there wasn't enough to keep me fully engaged. So yeah, it's got to be, unfortunately, it's a D, which means that our Cinema Rex show average score for this film for agitation or anxiety is C+.
Samuel Khachikian's Anxiety or Agitation stands as a defining work in the canon of Iranian film noir, a tense, shadow-drenched reflection of mid-century anxieties rendered with unmistakable flair. Beyond its grit and moral ambiguity, the film embodies the essence of film Farsi, that often maligned yet vital strain of Iranian popular cinema, whose melodramatic excess, camp sensibility, and raw emotional charge captured the pulse of a changing nation. In Anxiety, Khachikian turned those very traits into a work of passion, melding suspense, sentiment, and spectacle into a cinematic language that was both accessible and popular. To celebrate Anxiety is to acknowledge film Farsi not as a guilty pleasure, but as an essential and expressive chapter in Iranian's cinematic evolution, one that dared to entertain while revealing the deeper fears and desires of its time. Sina, where can people reach you? Tell us one more time about Rangarang. What are you up to? How do people get in touch with you? How do they buy your beautiful artwork, posters, renovations? What are you called?
Restoration.
Go.
Yeah, you can find us. Our main platform is on Instagram, Rangarang World, and our website is rangarangworld.com. You can follow our journey of restoring artworks, a lot of music so far, and we're just getting into cinema. Yeah, we have a collection of reprints of original posters from 6 pre-revolutionary Iranian cinema films. They come in posters, postcards, stickers, and yeah, we're just really excited to share that with the world. They're all very high resolution images and just really cool to have.
Can people request posters or photos from you, prints from you, if they're not currently up on the website?
I'm always happy to consider that. I try to be like very like curated with everything, but yeah, no, I'm always happy to hear what people want to see. Yeah,
great.
Thank you very much, Sina, for coming on and talking to us so eloquently about not just this film, but film Farsi's role in the pantheon of Iranian cinema.
Thank you, Sina.
Thank you guys. This is really fun.
Farhan June, thank you so much for joining us today on this podcast and doing all that you do. You know how I feel about you.
Unfortunately.
To our listeners, you know to follow us on at CinemaRex Podcast at Instagram.
If you haven't already, on Apple Music, leave us a review.
Yes.
Stars.
Like, follow, subscribe. And to everyone else, be umid didar.
Bye.
Music for Cinema Rex was written and performed by Sohail Sadinejad.